Welcome. We are Money Copilot LLC. Join us as we share our roadmap to help people along on their journey to better financial health. Your wallet will thank you.
We gotta go in. Hey!
Yes.
Okay, so I am excited because I'm inviting a special guest. This is my first time doing a live, like having somebody here with me and like literally in my house so that we can do this the right way,
Yes.
showing everybody, giving everybody some insights into money and relationship talks. Now, we're just going to go into it so anybody can watch, the recap later. I will have it on my page. But I want Tanji to be able to introduce himself and what he does, because a lot of you guys have challenges around money communication or like budgeting. And so he has the expertise to be able to give you guys some just insights and nuggets and all the things that we can geek out about today.
Thank you, Misha. I appreciate that. I'll just say this. My background is in multiple things, but through those multiple things, I have found myself as a money coach. Money coaching, financial counseling. I differentiate that. The easiest way to say is compare it to a financial advisor. We're two sides of the same coin. A financial advisor will typically work with people who have a pile of money already, help them grow that pile of money through investing and financial products. Whereas a money coach or financial counselor, as I am, would work with people who don't typically have a pile of money, living paycheck to paycheck, to be able to do better in terms of improving their financial health through budgeting, credit improvement, working with couples to be able to get better alignment on how they spend their money. It's a daily money management thing that we work with here.
Excellent. I'm just kind of curious, what kind of surprises you, or what surprises clients that work with you about like budgeting or money things that they hadn't considered until you brought it to their awareness?
So I can tell you this, a lot of how we spend money comes from what we watched happen as we were growing up.
Yeah.
And so family A didn't do things the same as family B. Mm-hmm. And we find differences and conflict coming from growing up and seeing, hey, family A was overspending and making ends meet through all sorts of different things, whereas family B was always saving, and that misalignment causes issues.
Yeah.
And it can get quite personal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I've heard a couple different stories. I've read a really good book, actually, that talked about this, and his whole business is structured this way simply because so many of our money things do come from our family background, and we're just not aware of it.
Yes.
But when people, this book was speaking to the entrepreneurs, when people start a business and they wonder why their business isn't prospering, oftentimes they're attaching it to like a money thing, right? And so it could be a belief that, how did he phrase it? Something like, if my family believed money was bad, right? Like wealth was bad.
Root of evil, huh?
Then unconsciously, they associated their business growth as bad. And instead of it flourishing, they kind of dampened it with their beliefs.
They keep it subdued.
Right.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was a really cool awareness. But when it comes to relationships, and you have two people with their history, that really complicates things.
Well, you know what? You're right. But even in a business, when you talk about having, let's say, partners in a business, that makes a difference in itself. Because you are establishing a relationship between partner A and partner B. And their spending styles, how they view income, all that comes into play in a similar fashion to a romantic relationship.
Exactly.
If there is an alignment there, there's going to be some level of conflict.
Yeah.
And the question is, do you internalize it and resent your partner
Right.
because of what it is, or do you actually talk about it
Right.
and find a way to get to alignment? That's the piece.
That's the hardest part right there that people don't want to do. They don't want to talk about money. Even when I dated, when me and Josh started like talking about marriage, and he asked me what my income was.
Why are you talking about my money?
I don't want to say how much are you making. I know. How much debt do you have? Do we have to talk about that? Right? So we were getting ready to get married, and we needed to talk about all that stuff. But it's uncomfortable.
It is, and we're often told, actually trained in society, not to talk about finances.
Tell me about that.
Because a lot of times, if you're on the higher end of the income spectrum, right? You don't know if somebody's trying to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
You don't want people to get jealous and cause strain in the just friendship relationship area. But if you're on the lower income side, you don't want the shame that can be associated with not making enough money.
Right.
So they often just look at it as, don't talk about finances at all. Finances, politics, religion, keep those separate.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if you're able to, especially in a relationship, talk about finances and figure out what some shared goals would be that allow you both to get behind it, whether it's family related, retirement related, all those things, you can do better.
Yeah.
When I'm working with my clients, I often work with them in terms of establishing a budget that's going to give every dollar that's coming into that family or that couple a purpose.
Ooh.
And that purpose has to be a little bit for boyfriend,
right?
A little bit for girlfriend or husband and wife, and a little bit for what they jointly do together.
Ooh, that's big.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you can't let one be forgotten and the other feel like, dang, it's all about that person. I don't got to do anything. Right?
Yeah. I'm sitting
especially
here with
if you're combining finances, right? So it's a big deal to be able to get alignment like that.
I like it. Okay, so what made you want to work specifically in like finance and budgeting?
Okay. This is my story. I have been through a lot in life, as most people I'm sure have, but I have been six figures in debt before. I've gone through divorce before. I've gone through dealing with child support before. So I come from a place of experience. I can tell you when I was trying to get out of debt, I had to go out there and look at education and tools, figure out what would help me make that happen. And as I was making progress, other people saw that I was able to do that because I was married at the time, and my ex-wife was like, hey, we got to eat, we got to live. I had decided to quit my job and record that album that I so wanted to do.
Okay.
Play like I was the record company that had the deep pockets, only I didn't.
Yeah, so frustrating.
Right?
Yeah.
So trying to pursue the dream. And, you know, that happens. The question is, what do you do afterwards? And so recovering, and now we're able to go on vacations, do things for the kids.
Yeah.
That got people's attention because it was from this particular reality
one
to
extreme
another reality,
to like,
And they asked me, what are you doing? How can I do the same thing? And I would just say, okay, well, here's the same education that I read and, you know, internalized. Here's some tools that I use, maybe some that I created even. And I would be disappointed because they wouldn't see any real forward movement or traction. And what I found was that even though there's all this education and all these tools out there, a lot of people don't have the full understanding or they don't have the discipline to then execute on whatever tool.
You know what else I'd add to that? They don't have enough pain.
Pain
when
is
you're
real.
Struggling and you're really at a place of like, this can no longer carry out the same way. Then that's what leads people to taking action, intentional action, right? And for some people, they'll take intentional action for a little bit, and then their pain softens, and they go back.
That's true. So the question is, what is the item that allows you to prolong your execution of things to get out of whatever hole that you dug yourself into? The pain is the trigger. Yeah. But then to sustain yourself to get out of it, there has to be a path for you to harness that pain. Yeah. Say, I don't want to come back to this space.
We done with that.
And then develop a plan, a roadmap that will get you out of it. And a lot of people get stuck in the developing the plan and roadmap because...
Well, it's easier and more fun.
Well, it's easier not to have one. Because if somebody else is funding your life, I'm like, okay, let them worry about it. I can just keep spending or whatever. But once you have to put one in place, you also run into the issue of what did you think you were spending versus what
You're
are you
actually
really
spending. Yeah.
And that gets people caught up a lot.
Trouble.
Right?
Yeah, especially in relationships where one is the spender and the other one wants to be the saver. And I usually see that pattern a lot in relationships where one's the spender and one's the saver. Every now and then I'll see where they both fall on the same page with that. But it's hard to navigate when you are saying we're going to have this shared purpose and then you're not able to consistently be on the same page so that your finances aren't in trouble and your relationship is not in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
And both people have to really sign on and buy into the idea of being able to be for each other. I'll tell you this. When you have or create a budget, and then this credit is a whole other thing, but when you create a budget, there is oftentimes people will cover mortgage or rent, they'll cover utilities, they'll cover gas, maybe groceries and things like that. But do you cover the little things that you buy for your girlfriend or your boyfriend?
Right, the little things that keep
Do you cover Christmas? Do you cover the special things you want to do for Mother's Day or Father's Day?
Right.
These less than monthly things trip people up because they're essentially sources of leaks of money out of their budget. And then when you add credit to that mix, if you're not managing credit well, that becomes another leak where you're paying interest.
Ooh,
and they don't even know how to factor the interest into their budget. So that...
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That people will struggle with that. And then you have couples that both they're bringing their own credit and credit cards, debt into the relationship. And if they're not doing the basic budgeting and they're definitely not accounting for that interest that gets out of control before you
They may account for the minimum payment or whatever payment that they're making, but not paying it off.
Are there like any patterns that you see with individuals or couples that you see like the most consistently that people could easily address?
So I'm going to say just things that I have seen in working with individuals that they talk about their partners with, right? Or with me about. It is often on the male side, unfortunately, a little bit of shame.
Yeah, I can see that.
The guy is supposed to know all this stuff about finances and he doesn't. Or his situation is worse off than his girlfriend. And it's like, okay, how do I address that? Because I'm supposed to be the person who knows. That comes into play. On the female side, a lot of times it's kind of compulsive spending a little bit. I got to go get the newest thing, the greatest thing. And then how do I disclose the debt that comes from
Disclosure,
that? Right?
Disclosure.
So the first thing that really needs to happen in any of this is communication. Lack of communication on this topic has to be has to be addressed. Otherwise, it is a big crack in the foundation of the relationship. And that's with a lot of things, right? Communication is the very first step.
You heard it. It's not just me. I didn't just say that. Yeah, of course. Yeah, communication's big, and we don't know how to do that even because society is not really great at feeding healthy communication and tools in schools and media, right? The other one
And then you have to worry about navigating traps.
Yeah.
Because you may start to communicate, but one party says something that triggers a feeling from when you were growing up.
Always.
Right? Regarding money, and all of a sudden you start to shut down.
Yeah.
You don't want to continue the conversation because you've got this bad feeling.
Yeah.
But doing that continuously makes it to where the other person is like, man, can I work with you at all if we're trying to do this thing together?
Yeah. Yeah. That is reality for a lot of people, especially I think a lot of my clients when they come to me or just people that I talk to, normally they'll have triggers for different reasons, right? I say for myself, one of the things I notice is my mom had conflict with what should be free and what we should pay for. And I noticed that that followed me. And that followed me into my business, right? Entrepreneurship. What do I give everything for free? Which no business can sustain itself that way. Which means if it can't sustain itself, it can't help people. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so, and then I've heard people, they have felt triggered by parents who would control them with money. So then you're in a relationship where two people actually have to talk about how they're going to survive and how they're going to do their basics. Yeah. But as soon as that conversation starts, it feels like control. And it triggers back to how their family dynamic was.
Exactly. And so there's a lot of breaking of chains that needs to take place in order to be able to do that. One of the things that I like to say is that I'm helping people break financial chains in particular.
Absolutely.
The reality is that when people are talking about finances, they may or may not be fully invested in the conversation, depending on what their ultimate goal is and how much they really care about that other person. Because if you're taking the kimono back and really sharing yourself with your partner, there's not much that you will end up keeping off limits.
Right.
I mean, true, everyone is entitled to their own kind of privacy for certain things, but there is a part of yourself that is intimate that you want to share, and finance is a part of that intimate self.
Yeah.
So it is something where, in order to be able to figure out what your joint objectives and goals are going to be, and then align that in a budget or something else that helps you both understand how you contribute towards that joint goal or joint objective, it's crucial.
Yeah. So, I mean, all the things that you're sharing, quite frankly, there's emotional aspects to it, right? And people need to recognize that we're very complex beings, right? There's not like one thing and then we're done. They're intertwined. A lot of the different challenges that we go through is there's all this intertwined stuff that we need to address simultaneously, right? So if a couple is arguing about money, what they're really arguing about is I'm scared to talk about this because it's vulnerable.
Fair, yes.
I don't want to feel like I'm in this alone, right? Because if they feel abandoned by their partner who's not helping them with this should be beautiful dual purpose, right? Of the life that you're going to be able to have, the vacations you're going to be able to do, the way you're going to be able to help your kids save for college. Like those are things that most families want, and also the how-to. How do you have a healthy budget? But also it starts with communication. So if you can't have the conversation with your partner about what's really going on, the things that you're talking about, the underneath, then anything that you do regarding finances is going to be like really difficult.
It's going to be littered with traps.
Littered with traps.
That's
Dang,
the reality.
that hit.
Now, let me say this. What can you do about it? Now, if you can't get yourself out of the path that you're in right now and you keep finding yourself falling into trap after trap with your partner, sometimes it is necessary to bring a third party in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes I can perform that function, whether it's both members of the couple participating with me and me kind of bringing cheat codes to help them along, or individually saying, okay, wife or husband, let's start working together, and then they can be the ones to bring ideas to the others and say, point the blame at me,
right,
as opposed to them receiving the blame,
right,
and then they're going to want to see what's going on.
Then it's so much easier because you're focused on the problem, not attacking the person.
Keep each other in protective space, right? If you were able to get a third party involved, that can make it just a little bit easier to be able to say,
this is hard, but we are actually taking action.
Yes.
Yeah. And I would say I like how you use the word traps and how you're being honest with, like, sometimes we need a third party, and that's okay. That's okay, right? You'll notice professionals work in unison, like they work together with other professionals because everybody has their own mastery that supports the whole. It's kind of like that whole village, right? You can't raise a you should raise a child with the village, because it helps not only you, but it helps foster what the child is going to grow and learn and mature into as well.
And let's be honest, we're not learning this stuff at school.
Nope.
We're not learning it from a lot of our parents because they didn't have education in it. So we have to find a way to bridge the gap.
For sure.
And not continue to suffer from what we haven't gotten in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the traps, I usually phrase it as spirals when I talk with my couples, right? Because now, instead of talking about the real issue, which is, this makes me feel like you're trying to control how I spend money, right? And actually addressing that issue so you guys can come up with a budget. It just spirals into conversations that happen over and over and over again. And people don't know how to get out of that.
Yes.
People don't know. There are clear phrases that you can use with your partner that makes those conversations easier and bring you guys back to a calm energy instead of a built up, I'm going to get you energy. Right?
This is true.
And so I have a live coming up this Thursday that is geared towards couples and conversations, right? How do you have these conversations without them spiraling, without your partner shutting down? So if you want some insight into how to communicate effectively, so when you have money conversations, when you go to somebody like Tunji, you're not spending time talking about who did what and why and blaming and navigating shame. You're actually getting to the core of your shared purpose together and how you can manage money.
And I would add on to that to say that the people that you decide to work with also matter. A lot of people are under the mistaken impression that a financial advisor is going to help you work with this. They have a different role. This is not their purpose. Whereas a money manager, money coach, financial counselor like I am, and there's actually a whole association of those for the entire U.S., we are focused on the daily scenarios that you have to deal with in order to be able to really chart a successful path towards good financial health.
Yeah.
And the alignment of the things, it's harder to say you're controlling the money if you're part of the conversation to determine what purpose we're giving this dollar.
Okay.
Right? So let's do that together.
Yeah. Agreed. I love that. Thank you so much for your insights and for coming over here today. And I'm sure I will include Tunji's information, but you feel free to comment or DM if you would like his information. I'm happy to share it with you. And feel free to comment Spiral if you want information about this live session that's happening on Thursdays to reduce the spiraling conversations with your partner and have more clarity on how to do that easily. Yeah, because it's possible. Thank you. You guys have a wonderful week.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.